Yeah, and see some undefeated players play in round 12. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Las Vegas. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Buehler. And we're just about underway here in round number 12, where we have two of our last undefeated players. These two gentlemen plus one other make up the only players left with no losses. Now, we're pretty deep into the tournament here. This is the third round of the first draft here on day 2, and there's only one more draft to go. That means 3 rounds of actual action before we're going to figure out who's going to be our last undefeated player. Aaron Lewis and Easton Henry, of course, are 2 of the 3 that could be that person. And a quick start here from Aaron. We saw his deck a couple of rounds ago. Flare Husk right into the Sunspear Shikari, so a very aggressive start. His red-white deck can win quite quickly. Easton on the other side of the table has started off quite nicely himself, though. I do see 3 forests for him, so we got to wonder what other color he's playing. I see a mana leak in his hand, so he's got something. And Nest Invader is going to attack, immediately chump blocked by Flare Husk. You know now that Aaron's plan is to equip the Sunspear Shikari, though I will say now Easton Henry, he is at least threatening to put up a decent race here with that Kavu Primarch. Aaron's going to take his lifelink and first striking Sunspear Shikari into the red zone.
Easton Henry,
here.
by the way, drafted 4 Kavu Primarchs.
Wow.
3 of them in the main.
So this is just the first of many. Great draw there from Easton, though. He finds an island, and he is going to be really happy to see that. He's got a mana leak in his hand.
Thrive!
And he's going to play Thrive here and take the beat to Aaron, it looks like. Wow, very aggressive.
Take 7.
One nice little interaction that we may see here.
Oh, look at it. He left up an island with Eldrazi spawn. He can mana leak off of that.
He can mana leak off that. Another thing he can do if the race comes down to it is he can block with the spawn on the lifelinking Sunspear Shikari and then sacrifice it, and no lifelink will happen. Yeah, that is something that pops up from time to time in this format. And he is looking to race, it looks like. Lightning Bolt, your Nest Invader. It's a 3/3. And unfortunately for Easton, that's not going to get mana leaked here because Aaron has 3 mana to play. Now, the Waxmane Baku, on the other hand, is going to get snap mana leaked.
Yep.
Get that thing out of here, says Easton. Leaving him with just the Kavu Primarch. But it is a 4/4 Primarch. Make that a 5/5. Cytoplast Rootkin's going to put another counter. And Easton playing very quickly, I'll say, too. Rumbles into the red zone for 5 damage. And he sits back on his 4/4, plays an island before passing the turn back.
Yeah, Aaron Lewis is a Madison, Wisconsin player.
Once I hear that, I know that they're good at limited. So this is a Hikari Twilight Guardian now for Aaron Lewis. So he's taking to the skies with his Assault. 4/4 Flying Spirit here. Legendary.
Yeah, Power9.com. Dan Box Store, another Madison guy from way back.
I've been seeing those sleeves and shirts pop up more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen Aaron around. I mean, he definitely has played his fair share of premier events.
I recognize him too, yeah. All right, so again, Easton Henry, he only plays one way.
Yeah.
Turning these things sideways, and it's actually going to prompt a double block here from Aaron. He's going to put the 3/3 Sunspear Shikari and Hikari on it. So that's 7 total power and toughness hitting
kind of
the
an
side
interesting
plus
double
Rootkin.
block, right?
It is.
The 4/4 flyer could trade for the Rootkin, but he wants to try to get in 3 points of lifelink damage.
It's risky, but it's kind of cool too.
Yeah, I agree on both counts. I think it's pretty smart.
I mean, the thing is, like, if Easton says, sure, Vapor Snag your Hikari, it's a little bit of a disaster here,
He would have done
right?
that pre-combat, though.
You think so?
He would if he could get rid of the 4/4, he would have done that before attacking with his phone 4/4.
That's true.
I think it's a nice read from Aaron. He got
That's pretty cool. I
like
like that play, yeah, and that could absolutely matter here. That was sweet.
I mean, and sure, if Easton wants to kill the Shikari instead of the big flyer, Aaron's fine with that, too.
Yeah. All right, so Sickle Slicer and a Viashino Slaughtermaster are the 2 follow-up plays here for Lewis. Is looking to wrestle back the race here from Easton Henry, who has been pedal to the metal basically every single turn. He just kind of draws his card and goes, go to attacks, attack with all. And it looks like the race may have turned back in Aaron Lewis's favor, though, after that last sequence. It was just a trade, the Cytoplast Rootkin.
Easton Henry is Salt Lake City.
That's the other reason, right? The Rootkin could have picked up the 2 counters off of the Primarch.
Oh, right.
So that was the
That's
other
why
reason.
he has to throw another creature.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay, so here's 3 mana for a Cloud Elemental. He just drew that. His other card is a Forest in hand, I believe. So Cloud Elemental looking to chip away in the air here, but Fiery Fall to kill the Primarch means that this race is firmly in Lewis's favor here now. 3, 5, 6, 7 damage and 3 lifelink means that Heron's going to be at 18.
Wow. While
Eason's going to fall to 4. This game's just about over. If he doesn't draw anything, and he doesn't, he draws another Forest, and that's going to do it for game 1.
Wow.
Easton Henry looks like he just does everything fast. Now he's immediately going to a sideboard here. Aaron Lewis played a little bit more of a patient game, make sure he takes care of the huge threats that he has a problem dealing with, and was able to turn the corner. Let's jump back over to our back table where we find Pascal Maynard. We watched him draft this deck. He had a tough seat, but he managed to get a pretty decent deck out of the deal, it looks like, playing against Brian Tidwell. Pascal is 1-1.
Right. Yeah, no, if he 2-1s, I think he's content. You told him, like, check in with him in the middle of the draft, at the end of the draft, offer him a 2-1, he'll take it in a heartbeat.
He would have signed that contract, yeah, no problem.
But so, I mean, it's a big round. Do you go into the last draft where you just need, 201 to top 8, and 2-1 might be good enough to back in, or are you already gambling on tiebreakers before you even draft the second time?
With this many players in the field, it is so tough to make the top 8 of these events, even with a great record. We're predicting that many X2s will miss top 8.
Yeah, more will miss than make. Something like, I think in Utrecht it was 4 mated out of 12.
Crazy. You lose 2 matches over 15.
Yeah.
The cool part is, though, that the payouts are now based on your record.
No, the pro points are based on record.
The pro points are based on your record.
The payouts are still, tiebreakers still matter for the cash.
Yeah, for the cash, but for qualifying for the Pro Tour.
That is a great point. Everybody on X2, whether they make the top 8 or not, will qualify for Vancouver. Pro Tour Origins, about what, month and a half away? Almost 2 months away?
Something like that, yeah, near the end of July, I guess.
I think this is the last chance to qualify for Vancouver, actually.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, a lot of people are going to qualify for Vancouver from this event.
Something like 50 this weekend, I think.
Crazy.
Maybe more. How is it more like 80?
I ask you these questions, Randy.
It's going to be like 70. Between the 4 GPs, I think it's like 75 people qualify. Some of whom may already have invites.
So Pascal's...
It's enough that the Pro Tour is going to feel a little bit bigger.
Definitely. Pascal's surveying the scene here. He finds himself at 6 life, pretty low on life. Tidwell's at 11, can take a hit here. We see Rusted Relic sitting there. It's not actually active, though.
Oh, Brian Tidwell's the guy that was on Pascal's left. This is the guy.
Oh, that is him.
Blue-white versus blue-white. Yeah, we didn't watch Brian draft. We watched Chris Fidel draft from Brian's left. We watched Pascal Maynard draft from Brian's right. And the word we got is that Brian started out trying to take Affinity. Got that Rusted Relic pretty early. But that he had allegedly audibled into Elementals. But no, look at that mana base. That is not an Elementals deck mana base.
Maybe he had to audible again.
These are the 2 Affinity players who fought with each other through the entire draft. And now one of them will escape with a 2-1.
And they both ended up deciding that Affinity was open enough to be in and barely made playables, it looks like. But
yeah, Brian is...
Ooh, this is a big draw here, Randy. Flare Husk for Brian Tidwell means that Rusted Relic is now active. And he's going to attack with his whole team into Maynard. They're in game 1. Pascal is lining up a chump block here. He's got just 1 blocker left. It's a Frogmite. As the board sits, Maynard's dead here. But he's got a card in hand. He's going to block the Rusted Relic. So the card that we're thinking of here is Vapor Snag. Maynard has 2. We watched him draft 2.
Yeah, if he had Vapor Snag, though, he'd bounce Glint Hawk and turn off Rusted Relic. Why isn't he just bouncing the Glint Hawk to turn the Rusted Relic into not a creature anymore? But, yeah, Vapor Snag gets him out of it, for sure.
It does. It also drops Tidwell down in life. Looks like he's at 4 now. Okay, so he must have been at 11 the prior turn, taking a big hit, because now it says he's at 4.
Yeah, now Vapor Snag is threatening, knocking Brian to 4. Pascal's threatening the crack back for lethal with 4 power worth of flyers. Helium Squirter, but he has to tap out.
He's tapped out. He's got the Flare Husk token.
Cloud Elemental plus Glinthawk Idol is just lethal, right?
It is just lethal. He needed one more mana to be able
Helium
to give
Squirter
it
doesn't have
flying.
natural flying. It has activated flying.
Wow, so brutal. Let's jump
Wow.
over to our other
Pascal
match
Maynard
here.
gets that game.
Yeah.
Vapor Snag.
Vapor Snag does it. That was a properly close game
Indeed.
down the stretch. Let's get back to our main match before it's over. Again, Easton playing quite quickly, and Aaron Lewis's deck is very fast. Hey, there's a Helium Squirter. We were just talking about that. So Kavu Primarch with no counters on it is joined by a Helium Squirter. I'm pretty sure that Eldrazi Spawn token is used up. It looks like it was used
Yeah,
to
that's how he
actually
got
cast
turn 3
this
Primarch.
Squirter. Or his turn 3 Primarch or the turn 4 Squirter here, either way. So Lightning Bolt's going to take it down, as well as the point of damage from the Blink Moth Nexus here.
Oh, yeah, he convoked with Nest Invader to get turn 3 Primarch.
That's right.
And then use the Eldrazi Spawn for turn 4 Squirter, and we're caught up.
And once again, we're racing. And there's a replacement Helium Squirter now.
Yeah, this time, though, Aaron Lewis is on removal spells instead of creatures.
Yeah, you're right. He's got Fiery Fall, Burst Lightning in
And
hand.
his graveyard is Sunland's Lightning Bolt.
Jeez.
Well, that's
That's
what
an
happened to the
impressive
Nest
removal
Invader.
All right, so
Helium Squirter
give this
goes to
Helium
the
Squirter
air.
flying. Yeah, and he really wishes he could get a counter on that Primarch. That would make this clock quite quick, but instead he's going to have to settle for just getting in for 3 and passing the turn back. He's got 2 cards in hand and 4 mana available. And is this going to be Fiery Fall on the cycle? Yeah, can't do anything about that, says Easton. Go for it.
Helium Squirter's been more impressive to me today than I think I was expecting. When we talk about how good flying was in this format, I mean, Helium Squirter, like 5 mana for a 3/3, it just looks
Yeah, Snid, come on.
undercosted by modern creature standards.
Deeply undercosted, yeah.
But spreading counters and giving flying, I think, is actually good enough. Maybe you get some proliferate shenanigans.
Yeah, it's a good late game play. There's nothing about that. All right, Waxmane Baku's the play here for Aaron. And
Scatter.
end step, scatter the seed. So that's what he was holding on to. I just knew Easton had something, right? It was like he's got the mana leak or something. And it was scatter the seed. So let's see if he can put these Sapperlink tokens to good use, because honestly, they don't look great here. Oh, they look a little better now that they have +1/+1 counters from the graft ability. So that's pretty nice. Moonlit Strider is just a 1/4 on the ground currently. It's not going to be able to buy anything back with Soul Shift, but it could still work. All right, so he's going to send both Sapperlings to the skies. And he's clearly going to tap out here. Oh, man, Vegene Guildmage now as well. So that's basically another flyer for next turn.
Aaron Lewis suddenly down to 7.
And there's Hikari. So Hikari's going to trigger the Waxmane Baku and get a key counter on that.
Most importantly, it's a 4/4 flying blocker.
And it's a 4/4 flying blocker, which can hold off most of the team here. Though I will say that Aaron Lewis is getting dangerously low on life total.
Could almost swarm around. In fact, if he just
If he throws
4
everything.
mana for 4 flyers, could win in 2 attacks. Yeah, 2/2/2 and 1.
Yeah, he didn't attack with a Squirter last turn.
Right.
Why was that?
I wasn't sure. He said a mana he didn't use, right?
Yeah, there was a mana left over. He just didn't send it. He attacked with it a turn prior, so he's certainly aware of it. All right, Randy, so what happens if he just sends the Squirter, the Guildmage, and the 2 Sapperlings into the sky here and just ships them in
Aaron
there?
picks off one of them. I mean, basically, Easton can say, show me a removal spell. Right? He gets if he does that, he commits to doing that 2 turns in a row, he'll deal 5, and then he'll deal 3. Well, that's 8. That'll get the job done.
So would that? So it's either a
But
removal,
any
spell
removal spell
or Waxmane Baku activation, but he'll know about that.
Yeah. I mean, you declare your attack phase. You should declare your attack phase first, and then ask about Waxmane Baku. Okay. He's just sending the 2/2s. Well, the problem is if he sends Helium Squirter and loses it in combat, then he doesn't have the flyers for next turn.
That's right.
So this is smart. He gets through for 4, dropping Aaron to 3, and he still has the ability to swarm, including the Squirter next turn. So, yeah, Easton, I think, played that right.
Okay, but there was still burst lightning for
Like
the helium
we said,
squirter,
Easton was basically saying, show me a removal spell or I gotcha. And Aaron said, I have a removal spell.
which is kind of uncanny. Like you said, is burst lightning bolt, fiery fall, and Sunlance all in his graveyard here. It's just removal spells aplenty.
Now Aaron attacks.
Because he's got Boros, Swiftblade, and Viashino Slaughtermaster as the follow-ups, and he figures he's not dying in the air anymore.
Yeah, no longer needs flying blockers because the Squirter's dead. And he's got 4 ground blockers to Easton's 4 creatures. He's also got a Waxmane Baku.
He also knows that Easton Henry is just blue-green, so he's not going to have any spells that are going to get any direct damage into him, so the way is clear. He's going to leave back his Nexus, and I guess we can see why here. He's casting something huge.
Guardian Firebird.
6/6
with the
Firebird.
Bloodthirst trigger. Suddenly there's 11 power worth of flyers next turn with the Nexus. Blinkmoth Nexus makes this lethal. 6 + 4 + 1.
Wow, Aaron Lewis has really cleanly turned the corner in both of these games. Here's a Kavu Primarch that's going to get a kicker, so it's going to be a 7/7, but is that too late?
It looks too late to me. It's 11 power worth of flyers, right?
It is. And he's tapped out, too. Crunch, that's it.
Aaron Lewis, ladies and gentlemen.
This was beautiful. 6, 10, 11. Yeah, you got me. And Aaron Lewis remains undefeated. He's all business.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like he's just another day at the office there for Aaron Lewis. Easton Henry, great start to that game, but just enough removal.
Yeah, I don't know if Aaron is already qualified for Vancouver or not, but I know there's a big new powerhouse team on the Pro Tour Prep Horizon that has a lot of guys from his neighborhood already on it.
The Madison players always talk about Madison being a hotbed for Magic. They always say that there's great players, and now they're really starting to show up at the high level.
I'm sure he would test with Ultra Pro when he's qualified. Meanwhile, Pascal Maynard trying to eke a second win out of this Affinity deck. He ran into the other Affinity deck. Yeah, Brian Tidwell's top end looks great. 3 Rusted Relics, couple of Glinthawk Idols. He's got the Aethercast Knight, the Glass Dusk Hulk. But he came up short. And so what he wound up doing was, you see the Thrumming Bird there. He's got kind of a Graft sub-theme. He's got 2 Helium Squirters. He's got 2 Vigian Graft Mages.
That sounds a little awkward.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's nothing, but that is mixing 2 strategies that don't normally go well together. Obviously, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't have a coherent 23-card deck that was only one archetype. So
he's going to play one of those Helium Squirters that you just mentioned, Randy, and just pass a turn back to Pascal.
No.
Oh, sorry. Go to attacks and then attack.
Thrumming Bird.
In for 2.
Get some proliferate action going. Now it's a 4/4 Helium Squirter.
Yeah, it's going to drop Pascal down to 17.
It's also picking up an Exalted trigger.
Yeah, that's why it's 2. Yeah. I mean, this is a powerful ability. All right, well, Aether Snipe is going to set the tide back.
Speaking of powerful cards that only wound up in the Affinity deck because we needed to flesh it out to 23.
That's true.
Cloud Elemental and Aether Snipe. Not exactly high synergy cards, but...
This is when he thought he was going to draft Elementals.
Yeah. Yeah, Pascal Maynard, we've mentioned a couple times, came into the weekend in, is it 3rd place in the Grand Prix Player of the Year race? Look that up.
All right, there's the Helium Squirter back in action here.
Yeah, he came into the weekend in 3rd place. However, he's been passed by Martin Juza, who put up a 12-3 in Utrecht.
But that's not fair because
Leapfrog him.
Is already done with his tournament.
I'm just, as of this moment... Martin Juza is in 3rd, 1 point ahead of Pascal Maynard. I haven't heard an update on Alexander Hayne either. Hayne is definitely on day 2. He can put some points up. He's in 1st place.
He squeaked in at a 7-2.
Hey, for Grand Prix Player of the Year purposes, you don't need to make top 8. Just pick up 3 points for the 12-3. Hayne would be, I think, content with 12-3 for 3 pro points.
take a look at our players here in the feature match area.
Tidwell is from Dallas, Texas. Came for the event.
And there's that Vapor Snag. That's one of the best forms for removal that Pascal actually was able to find for this deck.
Yeah.
And he's been using them pretty aggressively. It looks like he's going to line up an attack here.
You
a
can't
pretty
really
decent
let
one, too.
Thrumming Bird Helium Squirter keep going forever. You got to try to gum up the works somehow, right?
Yeah.
Aether Snipe's big enough to attack on the ground. Cloud Elemental's still flying over.
And it looks like Brian just is forced to take it here. He's going to take 6 for this turn, dropping him down to 7 life. So he's deep into the single digits here, and this could get
Darksteel Axe.
close. And there's a Darksteel Axe as well, right? So that can power up one of the other threats.
Maybe turn Homunculus into a 4/4 attacker. Or Mechanist into 4/4 in the air.
Brian Tidwell sitting on 5 mana here.
Yeah, he's just
I think he
used all his lands to play that Helium Squirter 2
Yeah,
turns in a
I
row.
think he wouldn't hate to have that 6th mana so he could cast it and activate it. All right, well, here's Glinthawk Idol being activated and attacking. No trade for Menard. And then just pass the turn back.
He
So
I mean, he's got a trick of some kind. I
what
mean,
has he
he's
got,
worried
Cryptic
about...
Command?
Oh, that would make sense.
It's a rare in this set.
A rare he did not draft.
All right, well, we're going to find out shortly here because Tidwell's down a game
I mean, the
and
problem...
facing a big attack here.
Yeah, if Brian had just tapped out for Helium Squirter, Pascal's could probably find a way to kill him, right?
Probably, especially without that 6th land.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's just chump blocking with the bird.
Which is why Pascal's thinking about putting the axe on the Spellskite. It's not a wall. It's not a defender. It can attack. So he could have 5 different creatures. 4 of them with 2 power, plus the Aether Snipe. Seems like a pretty smart play for Pascal, right? Just diversify threats. No, it goes for Court Homunculus. So.
Yeah, if he puts it on the Spellskite, he turns a non-threat into a threat, which gives him a wider stance here. But
then he has no blockers. He risks
Right.
taking a little bit more damage on the crackback. But I mean, from what? I don't know. I might have attacked with the Spellskite here. Instead, 2 4-power guys and 4 power worth of flyers. I mean, the real issue here is that he puts Brian on a trick of some kind. So he figures if there's whatever's coming, Spellskite may just want to grab it. And now he doesn't want to... Yeah, if he's going to grab a Vapor Snag with Spellskite, he doesn't want to suddenly have his axe fall off. So, yeah, I think Pascal did play this correctly.
so Tidwell still has blocks to make here. He
It's
doesn't
tough,
have
too. He can't... If he lets either 4-power creature hit him, does he lose? No, I guess he could take 6. Instead, he's decided to take 4.
Yep, both the Fairy Mechanist and the Cloud
It's a chump
Elemental
and a chump.
have gotten in there. But yeah, this has gone poorly here for Tidwell.
Wow. And Spellskite comes straight back.
And Free Frogmite, he
Frogmite
almost
goes
tapped the mana for it. He thought, you know what, pay an even
Island,
slightly
yeah.
better price. And there's that island
6
now for
land, too
Tidwell.
little too late. Looks like Pascal Maynard is going to eke out the 2-1. I mean, when the 2 affinity deck players fight, it seems like the guy on the right should have the better deck, right?
It does.
Pascal was the guy on the right. He had the better affinity deck. He gets the 2-1. He's still very much in top 8 contention going into the last draft and looking to put some more points up in that Grand Prix Player of the Year race, see if he can get himself an invitation to Worlds.
Yeah, Brian Tidwell just had the 2 Helium Squirters left in his hand. As that game came to a close, he showed them to Pascal and said, yeah, good game.
Yeah, Tidwell basically sitting down for a Pro Tour Qualifier top 8 draft.
That's right.
Right? He's got 1 draft, 3 of the draft, you get invited to the Pro Tour.
That's great. That's a good way to look at that.
We'll take that, right?
Right now, can I go?
No.
Okay. I would take it then. Okay, here's a turbo match. King of the Hill.
Yes, speaking of undefeated players, Andrew Lozano is the other undefeated player in the field. He's the king of the hill. This is the Pod 2 finals, essentially. Alan Brightman is also 2-0, but came in with a loss. Only had enough undefeateds to fill 1.5 pods.
Now, I know where we're going here. Dragon Soul Knight usually means you're playing 5 colors or a red aggressive deck, and judging on the permanents over on the side of the table there for Andrew, we know which direction he's going. He's 5 color. Now his opponent, Alan, though, is already off to a quick and wide start here. It looks like he went raise the alarm for the 2 tokens, and then he played a Restless Apparition and a Skyhunter Skirmisher. So he's got a nice aggressive board built out, but it looks like Andrew's also turned the corner here by playing a Cathodian and a Nest Invader in the same turn. And there's an Etched Monstrosity as well. That's going to come down with 5 -1/-1 counters on it. And even though Andrew has a whole bunch of forests on board, it would have been a great blocker as a 5/5. The problem, of course, Oblivion Ring has now neutralized that particular threat. So it looks like the Restless Apparition got pumped there after it didn't get blocked, and he followed up with the Gust Skimmer. Wow.
Nest Invader just trades?
It just traded for a Restless Apparition. Andrew has to be thrilled with that outcome.
Yeah.
So Air Servant's going to drop Alan down to 14.
Oh, okay. It didn't trade. It just moved
He
over
moved
to
it
the
somewhere
right.
else? Okay.
He's moving them to the middle when he attacks. And then moving
Okay,
them to
that's
the
fair.
right
Yeah, it
instead
didn't
of
make a
below
whole
our-
lot of sense that it
Like,
would
I saw the tapped mana from the pump, so. Speaking of the pumps. Still
Right.
not good enough, though. Pump from the Dragon Soul Knight, still not good enough to beat up a Restless Apparition with
How
2
crazy
pumps
is that?
available. Card gets a little out of hand
I
at
mean,
this point.
Dragon Soul Knight becomes so huge there.
So does the Restless Apparition.
And here comes that Restless Apparition again. In fact, everybody's going to hit the red zone here. Pump. It's a 5/5. Take 7. Eat your Gust Skimmer. Play a Fairy Mechanist. Didn't see if he got anything, but I think he...
No.
Well, he played the Rune Servitor either way. Now, that's a lot of mana on Andrew Lozano's side. You got to figure like he's got something to do with all that mana, right? Isn't this why you play these decks?
Well, that deck is more vulnerable to flooding out than most. You play a lot of ramp spells. You may have like 15, 16 land in your deck, but then you have like 5 Rampant Growth equivalents. Sometimes you don't draw the threats you need.
Or in this case, the Savage Twisters that you need. All right, well, this is a nice
Gain
play,
8
though.
life.
It's going to gain life at instant speed.
Air Servant's been chipping away for a little while.
You know, it absolutely has.
that life gain
he's down to
enough?
2. He being Alan Brightman. So
Oh,
dispatch
but he
just to tap.
taps.
Ugh.
Tap your guy. Don't have the metal.
Oh, that was
Can't
really
exile
close.
it.
Alan was at 2. Like,
Yeah.
he was dead the next turn.
Andrew just needed to chump block Apparition one more time.
And
And he could crack back
dispatch
for the win,
with no Metalcraft ends up finishing the game there. You know, it's the best removal spell in the world if you just need to get the creature out of the way for 1 turn. And if you have Metalcraft, it's also just the best removal spell in the world. All right, game 2. Alan Brightman up a game.
Brightman is from Long Island. Lozano won't have his...
Whoa,
Big
turn
moment.
3 Creekwood Leech?
Wow.
Holy smokes, he just went Nest Invader into Creekwood Leech, and he got to untap with it? Into Rusted Relic? What is this?
Both of these guys have like half an affinity deck.
How is that even a thing?
Banefire.
Banefire to take down the Liege means that it's not going to get completely out of hand. His board state just went from excellent to oh no, twins. Double Rusted Relic means that any one artifact is going to put 10 power and 10 toughness on the board for Lozano. Maybe those Rusted Relics heard me laugh when he was standing all by himself. Well, there's one. Wrong
And
side
so
of the
looking
table.
across the board at each other. Well, couldn't we have been in the same deck?
There it is.
Yeah, Mirror Enforcer turns them on.
Now, this is interesting. He's going to get one of them traded off, though, and that means that the other one is now back to artifact mode, all rusted up and not able to move. And there's that pesky Restless Apparition that did so much work for Alan Brightman in the first game. Do we have another artifact here for Andrew? No.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, he actually had the triple Rusted Relic draw going there, too.
With a Mirror Enforcer. Just all four 4s and 5/5s. Beat my Creekwood Liege. I got plan B.
Yeah. Turn 3 Creekwood Liege is rough, but Banefire was nice there.
Yeah.
And
Alan,
this is,
I
of course, the downside to these Rusted Relics is that each of the last 2 turns has seen them go from being creatures to not being creatures anymore. But it looks like a Gust Skimmer here for Andrew Lozano. I've never seen so many Gust Skimmers in my whole life. They're all over the battlefield here. There's one in the graveyard. There's 2 on the battlefield. But that's going to turn those Rusted Relics on. And that's all that really matters here if you're sitting in Andrew Lozano's seat. And it looks like we've caught up to real life where Andrew Lozano's just equalized.
On to game 3.
Rusted Relic.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes you go Creekwood Liege into Rusted Relic. It happens.
You've got to be kidding. Is that number the number that I think it is?
That's the number you think it is.
There are 6 Rusted Relics in Andrew Lozano's sideboard.
So he boarded into that deck?
He boarded into RustedRelic.deck for this matchup.
He has 6?
That's why I asked you, is that number the
That's
number
a
that I think
6,
it
yes.
is?
That is 100% a 6.
That's the Rusted Relic line on this deck list. Yeah, I'm like, he was a 5-color deck. I watched him win King of the Hill last round. His mana base, his main deck is 6/2/2/1/1 with 3 bounce lands and an Evolving Wilds. He's a 5-color deck. But
5-color colorless deck? That is awesome. 6 Rusted Relics.
6 Rusted Relics. And, I mean, you don't bring in 3 of them.
You know,
They're coming in. They're coming in.
So we were talking about Modern Masters bingo earlier, Randy. I think you hit the bingo square if your attack force is 3 Rusted Relics and no other artifacts.
Sure.
That's definitely there. I mean, if you get 6 on there, I think you just win the game, period. You should get some type of award. Perhaps be carried off by your friends on their shoulders or whatever.
I mean, his main deck has an Alloy Mirror, a Cathodian, an Etched Monstrosity, a Gust Skimmer, a Rune Servitor, a Skyreach Manta. So, you know,
and Sphere of the
1,
Suns
2,
too,
3,
right?
4, 5, 6, and 2
Sphere of the Suns. Yeah, okay.
So you're at 8 artifacts already.
Now, how many would you like to have, though, for Rusted Relic to be consistently decent?
Like 15?
Yeah, right? Like 12 to 15 range? I know that you value Darksteel Citadel really highly.
I do. I like, I mean, if you're
for
playing
that reason.
I mean, not if you're trying to cast Creekwood Liege.
Yeah. Yeah, this deck looks like it took some very sharp turns. Yeah, Mirror Enforcer was there.
There's 2 of those in the sideboard. So he apparently brought in 6 Rusted Relic, 2 Mirror Enforcer to take his artifact count from 8 to 16. Sounds great.
This is just hilarious. By the way,
sorry, there's
he's
another
11
artifact.
and 0.
There's a Skyreach Manta. That counts for Rusted Relic.
Absolutely.
And for 5-color.
It's another 5/5.
It's a 5-color affinity deck.
Yeah.
Except it can sideboard in the affinity part. Metalcraft part, anyway.
This is just too good.
That's hilarious. What do you take out?
Yeah, that's the thing I wonder. Because he left the Creekwood Legion. We saw that.
He left the Air Servants in? We don't know that. Dragon Soul Knight, World Heart Phoenix, maybe those come out. They're just too slow for this matchup, maybe. Scatter the Seed, Scion of the Wild, because he's seen removal. He's playing against a red-white removal heavy deck, right? I think the idea is that Alan Brightman is probably on like Sun Lances and Lightning Bolts, so you bring in 4/4s.
Well, but he's the blue-white deck, right?
I don't have his deck list.
Okay.
I may be misremembering the details. Yeah, blue-white, sorry. But Sunlance is not good against 4/4s and 5/5s.
Totally. All right, Gust Skimmer and Andrew's got to be jealous. He's got an Evolving Wilds in his hand, but he's actually going to lead things off with the Nest Invader here instead. Yeah, I already see some artifacts piling up in his yard. Also, Tarashi's Grasp has come in. Looks like it's going to do pretty nice work against Allen. And Andrew's actually just going to trade off here.
This format is insane.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Ooh.
Mirror Crusader, that's a good card.
Crusader. Now, the good news for Andrew Lozano is that he's got a lot of colorless cards that just don't care. Now, the Nest Invader, of course, wouldn't do anything.
Turns out Rusted Relic blocks Mirror Crusader pretty well.
Pretty cleanly, yeah.
There is a surprising amount of synergy between the 5-color strategy and the Affinity strategy, just because having a bunch of colorless spells in your deck, and like I said, we think that Andrew now has upwards of 16 colorless cards in his deck. You can just put whatever basic lands in you want. Like, you don't care what your basics are if you're casting Rusted Relics.
Right. All right,
So
Restless Apparitions, the follow-up play here for Alan Brightman. So his board's getting pretty scary. Andrew, he took that turn off from the Evolving Wilds to cast the Nest Invader. And as it sits, it looks like that's a pretty costly one. If he doesn't do anything for this turn, he could find himself quite behind here. It takes a little while to get old Rusty the Rusted Relic up and running.
Yep.
Even if he does play one the next turn, it doesn't do much here.
Yeah, and the problem with 6 relics is that they don't make the enforcers cheap very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, you really need the cheap artifacts to make those Rusted Relics great, which is, why you were saying you like the Darksteel Citadel. It's the cheapest.
Yeah.
Doesn't even take a spell slot.
And you see Glint Hawk Idol gets drafted super high.
Lozano just dumps Rusted Relic on sure, here we go.
Flick of the wrist as the Eldrazi spawn gets rejected.
You see he misses his land drop here as well, so this could be a quick one as Alan Brightman's had a really nice draw, and it's not getting any worse with that Air Servant. I think we're going to see Alan Brightman close this thing out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
To Andrew Lozano here, especially if he can't find a land. Tough one here.
Yeah. Sideboard plan worked in game 2. Not working so much here in game 3.
Yeah, this quick start is exactly what Andrew Lozano doesn't want to see with his 6 Rusted Relic deck. It takes over the mid to late stage of the game, but the early game,
he did
doesn't
just
have
now
the
draw a
tools.
Cathodian. That would have been great 2 turns ago.
He's certainly going to want to play it here.
But yeah.
Wow, he just looks at the board and just can't find anything here and has to extend the hand. Alan Brightman knocks off Andrew Lozano, who
new king of the
was
hill.
11-0, is no longer. Brightman was playing up at 10-1.
Right.
He's the new king of the hill. Welcome back to the booth here in Las Vegas. Marshall Sutcliffe with Randy Buehler. And